Good evening. I'm joined by the one and only Charles Evan Hughes. Good evening, Charles. How are you?
Hello, I'm happy to be alive.
We have the opportunity to interview Charles Evan Hughes, one of the Supreme Court's best judges, as part of CNN's special Supreme Interviews. So, Mr. Hughes, when were you born?
I was born on April 11th, 1862 in Glen Falls, New York. Nice place.
Yes, it is a nice place. Next question. How old were you when you graduated from high school?
I graduated from high school at the age 13. Those were the years.
What university did you attend, Mr. Hughes?
I attended Brown University and graduated there in 1881. Then I went to attend Columbia Law School and graduated in 1884.
Whoa! Do you recall your score on the New York bar exam?
I think I got a 99.5% on the bar exam, which is one of the highest scores ever given.
That's amazing. What was your first ever actual job?
I worked as a law practitioner and as a professor at Cornell University. I didn't work long there because in 1906 I was elected governor of New York.
I heard that you resigned in 1960. Can you explain why?
Well, you see, I resigned in 1916 because I was a winning candidate for the Republican presidential nomination.
How did the presidential race go?
Well, I lost to Woodrow Wilson, 277 electoral votes to 254. It was a really close race. It really sucked.
Close. So what did you do after losing the election?
I just went into private practice of law. That was about it.
1921 seemed like a big year. Can you explain to me what happened that year?
1921. I was appointed Secretary of State by Warren G. Harding. What an honor that was.
I imagine it must have been a real honor. What happened 5 years later?
5 years later, I was nominated by Herbert Hoover to be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
After all these jobs, when did you decide to retire?
I retired in 1941 at the age of 79.
Charles Hughes passed away on August 27, 1948 at around 12:45. In 1958, two residents of Virginia, Mildred Jeter, a black woman, married Richard Loving, a white man, in Washington, D.C. When the Lovings returned to Virginia, they were charged with violating Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, also known as anti-miscegenation laws, which prohibited interracial marriage. The Lovings were found guilty and sentenced to a year in jail. The judge agreed to suspend the sentence as long as the Lovings would leave Virginia and not come back for 25 years. So the Lovings left Virginia and went to live in Washington, D.C. The Lovings would return to Virginia to visit friends and family. They eventually secretly lived in Virginia, and in 1963, the Lovings were fed up and decided that living in fear of imprisonment was unfair. Mildred Loving, inspired by the civil rights movement, wrote to the Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy, and was referred to the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU represented the Lovings in a landmark Supreme Court case, Loving v. Virginia. Richard Loving said, "Tell the court I love my wife, and it's just not fair that I cannot live with her in Virginia." Loving v. Virginia was argued and decided in 1967. The Supreme Court unanimously decided that there was no legitimate reason behind the Virginia law. It violated the Due Process Clause and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Chief Justice Earl Warren said that under the Constitution, the freedom to marry or not marry a person of another race resides with the individual and cannot be infringed by the state. Because of Loving v. Virginia, the Supreme Court invalidated anti-miscegenation laws in Virginia and 15 other states, declaring the ban of interracial marriage unconstitutional.